Welcome to Connect MKE. I'm your host, Kristen Bry. Since May is Asian American and Pacific Islander, or AAPI for short, Heritage Month, our focus today is AAPI representation and community building in southeastern Wisconsin. Here to discuss are two of the co-founders of ElevAsian, a collective in the greater Milwaukee area that works to elevate the visibility of people, businesses, and issues in the AAPI community. Erik Kennedy and Jessica Boling, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for coming up here. So I would first want to say that as someone who loves a play on words, ElevAsian is a great name. I would love to hear more about the brainstorming session you guys had to come up with it.
We didn't have one. Sherry's the brains behind it. Yeah. She does all of our play on words.
Yeah, so one of our co-founders, Sherry Tron, she has the creative juices and thought of it, so shout out to her and Minds at Tao as well as the other co-founder. So.
All right, so you guys had nothing. No. You were just like, nope, that's great. Let's go with that.
It had nothing to do with it. She just brought it up one day. I was like, okay, that works.
Yep.
Never would have thought in a million years.
And then the logo that was created just last year, we had our friend Howard Liu create that, and we had some buy-in, or some say, but he rolled with what we wanted to do and then created this awesome logo for us. So
there you go. Everyone has their strengths.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the history of the name, but maybe a little bit more of the history of the organization and how it was four founders?
Yep.
Yeah, so I moved to Milwaukee. We're all transplants except for Sherry, and we kind of found ourselves in these spaces at events, and we're the only Asian American individuals that we're seeing, and just kept seeing each other, and we're like, hey, we should connect. And we connected, and then realized we wanted to raise the visibility, and started off with a very simple social media campaign that we modeled after Judge Derek Mosley, where we did education about AAPIs every day of the month in May. We've been doing that for several years now. It's actually a lot more work than I realized. Just to start raising visibility, and then over time, people started hearing about us, and we started showing up in spaces and raising leadership, and now we have a pretty good group that is just excited to make space and have community here in Milwaukee. We didn't realize that that's what we were building when we started, and it's been really good. Yeah.
So it's very grassroots, kind of organic growth.
Yeah, I think that when we reflect on COVID and we're still in it, I think that one of the benefits of what we've been able to do is more community stakeholders have reached out to us to see how they can support the Asian and AAPI community during this time. With the rise of xenophobia, hate, and racism, I think more community stakeholders, especially organizations, are really saying, how can we support, be intentional about our support, and how can we provide resources to really carry out your mission. And so, as Jessica mentioned, we've been very grassroots, but then we've started creating a following, and I don't think the four of us really would envision how fast and how many people are really allies and advocates for us, and also members of ours. And we're still trying to figure out what is a member. So we're learning that each day, and we're continuing to try to create the awareness. So
in addition to ElevAsian, you sit on the co-chair of the AAPI Coalition for Wisconsin. Did I get that name right?
Yep.
So what is kind of the difference between the mission and origin of that organization versus what you try to focus on with ElevAsian?
Well, I feel like when we started seeing the rise in anti-Asian hate, we quickly organized and started reaching out to some of the elected officials, and then it ended up being more statewide, and then we ended up reaching out to our partners that we knew in different parts of the state, thanks to Mindza, because she had a really big, really good statewide footprint, and we realized, this is a lot of work and it's a lot of coordination, and that we should actually raise this to a statewide level. And we kind of built that one as we were going to, and realized that the AAPI community has never really mobilized under this large umbrella statewide ever before. It's traditionally kind of hard because we're so diverse, and so this was a tragic but very unique situation for us to come together around something and do a lot of community building, build a voice that brings power to our communities and raises awareness, and because we're not always getting the resources that we need or the recognition that we need, and so we have to be loud, which is a little bit outside of our comfort zones. But we're finding power numbers and be able to advocate for the AAPI community across the state.
Yeah, and the other thing about ElevAsian and the difference between AAPI coalitions is that for ElevAsian, we really want to raise the visibility of local and really Wisconsin-based businesses and individuals, and also initiatives and issues that are transpiring, really focused on Asian and AAPI community members. I think that for us, as much as Jessica, Sherry, and Mainza and myself really love being a part of different initiatives, we also want to help develop and really have these Asian and AAPI community leaders be at the forefront as well, to have their seat at the table, so to speak. And I think that the four of us, like, we love being a part of those things, but like, we also know that there could be other people that do it just as better, or may have better insight, or maybe subject matter experts that can probably really make the change, as opposed to the four of us or one of us that really may just do it because we're being asked to. But I think that you're starting to find others that are really wanting more responsibility, and we also want to help connect them to different community stakeholders, because they may not have the opportunities to have that network, right? And so the four of us are very fortunate where we have those connections and we get asked that. So I think that that's another difference between ElevAsian and AAPI coalitions, that we want to raise the visibility of local businesses and community initiatives, but also help develop Asian and AAPI community members professionally. So
yeah, so I mean, I think that's a big part. Network is always everything, right? As far as how many studies have been done as far as you get jobs because of who you know versus what you know, and like being able to just put a resume into the hundreds of resumes an organization gets versus, oh, I know you, I'll give you an interview, right? And so like being able to, like you said, be able to plug in to who's in your community and knowing what availability there are on boards or jobs or different alderman seats, and showing that. So I think, because I think that is something that, as someone who grew up in Madison, which is more diverse than, maybe not as diverse as Milwaukee, but more diverse than a lot of the state, I certainly went to school with a lot of kids who were Hmong, and I think that's something that you don't really think of when you think of Wisconsin, as far as we have the largest Hmong population west of the Mississippi, right? Or east of the Mississippi.
Is Minnesota west or east of the Mississippi?
Minnesota is west of the Mississippi. We are east of the Mississippi, so I screwed that up a little bit. But I mean, it's just, and so it's something that I think bringing that visibility that people don't necessarily think of when they think of a Wisconsin population.
I mean, yeah, to your point, I think that Wisconsin has the third largest Hmong population in the United States that most people don't really fully realize and know about. I think that, as Jessica kind of alluded to, is that I think that most people group Asians as one from one country, instead of saying like there's so much different people from different cultures and different journeys, that for Jessica and I, we're Korean adoptees, right? And I think that there's others that are come from China, Japan, Laos, and other countries, and I think that people too many times just group us in one category, and sometimes that's where we get missed out on representation when it comes to DEI initiatives. So,
as two people who've worked in your free time as advocates for this community, does it, having a month, make a difference? Does it change the narrative? Is it a good thing? Does it help? Is it just another month as far as the ongoing work that you guys do all year?
It's just a very busy month for us. Very busy month where we asked to do a lot of work. But you know, like Eric said, there's a lot more initiatives that are expanding to include Asian American and Pacific Islanders. I don't know, it's always great to take time and celebrate, but it is not something that, you know, we should to celebrate just like your birthday or something like that. But you know, we're part of American history. We're American. This is something that we should be celebrating all the time.
Yeah, I think it goes back to it helps create awareness and really allows hopefully community members to really ask questions, listen and learn from other community members that are AAPI, and really going now during this month, but also going forward to continue to support AAPI restaurants and businesses, and also events and initiatives, and also hopefully during the last couple of years that we've been that we created ElevAsian, hopefully people are starting to realize that, like, yes, there is a very thriving and active AAPI community that wants to be a part of different initiatives, and also just wants to have a voice and a seat at the table, so to speak. So
I would love to talk about some of the events that you guys have already gotten to do and how they went, but one as someone who appreciates how much pop culture can have an influence on dialogue and stories of how we learn from people who are not like us. I know one of the events you had last week was Chai Chat, which was talking about the second season of Bridgerton, which starred two dark-skinned South Asian women as like the main characters who were supposed to be very beautiful, desirable women, and that impact. And so I would love to hear more about how that conversation went, or even the inspiration for doing the event.
You know, we both missed it. So we're not the best. So I was in Madison for other AAPI events. Actually, Sherry is the one that really wanted to uplift that, because it's not, you're right, it's not a conversation that we talk a lot about. There is a lot of colorism that happens within our communities, and we don't, like, Asian women are fetishized in different ways, and then also deemed not as attractive. And so it was really, I can't speak what it was like for a South Asian woman, so this is a little bit harder for me to talk about, but it was really inspiring for me to see any Asian main character being seen on a mainstream TV.
Yeah, it's really representation matters, and I think that being able to have that conversation this past Saturday was really more insightful and educational for the community to learn about why representation was so important during this popular series. So.
Absolutely. And so one of the other events, which is going on until May 19th? No.
29th.
29th, is an exhibit at Turner's Hall, which is a historical exhibit on Japanese internment camps.
Yep.
And so I would love to hear more about what the exhibit looks like, and also promote people to go if they would like to check it out before it closes down.
So May 19th is when we're teaming up with Milwaukee Turners, and the exhibit is actually at Jewish Museum.
Okay.
So I think that have you been there yet?
No.
Okay, so luckily for me, I've been able to go there a couple times, and it is something, as you mentioned, it does highlight and create awareness of Japanese concentration camps and the lives and the impact that it's had throughout our history. And I think that going into that, it's very reflective, very insightful. It's very emotional, because you hear testimonials not only from Milwaukee residents, but also just seeing and hearing and looking at the artifacts, and also seeing more of the pictures and the videos. It's super, it is very educational, and I highly recommend, if there's anything that you can do during this time, or during this month of AAPI Heritage Month, is really checking out the Jewish Museum and this exhibit.
Yeah, it sounds hard to see, but important to see. Yeah. And so as far as other events, whether they're specifically an ElevAsian event or other activities that you want to promote, what's some of the restaurants you want to throw out there for people to check out?
Oh my God, you asked me. I was like,
so I think that for me is really stepping outside of your comfort zone, and really telling your friends and loved ones to really support Asian and AAPI restaurants during this time. So like Mekong Cafe is an amazing restaurant. It's in the Tosa, Milwaukee area. I think Meat on the Street, also Momo Mi.
I want to go with Sap Sap in Racine, because we did that for one of our invasion.
Nice, another planned words.
Invasion in April for Lao New Year, and that was really good, because I hadn't actually had that too much of that food, and it was great to have to go there. And what is his name? Alex.
Yep. Alex.
Yeah. Alex is the owner.
The chef and the owner.
Yep.
Yep. And then I think on this upcoming Monday or Sunday, May 22nd, is we're having a conversation with the Jewish community about the rise in hate, and how we can continue to come together to denounce it and really denounce hate and anti-Semitism. So,
is that an open event?
Yep, it's open to anyone that is willing to listen and learn and continue to grow and make change in our community. So,
and where can people find information about
they can find it on our website, ElevAsianWI.com. So,
all right. Any other message you want to have our audience take away from this conversation?
We actually have another event with the AAPI Coalition on the 25th of May, Wednesday in the evening. We're going to start at 7:15. We have a special guest that will be coming as well, and some cultural.
It's a surprise.
Yeah, it's a surprise. And some cultural events, and we actually haven't posted yet, but we have a Facebook, and we'll be pushing that out later today.
Yeah, and I guess the last word for us would be step outside your comfort zone, continue to support Asian and AAPI businesses and initiatives now and also going forward, and speak up and call out hate.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for taking time to be here. I'm excited to, there's that conversation I think sounds really interesting. And so again, thanks for all your work, and both here in Milwaukee and across the state.
Thanks for having us.
Erik Kennedy and Jessica Boling are two of the co-founders of ElevAsian. For more information on anything that we discussed, you can visit their website at elevasianwi.com and follow their Facebook page at ElevAsianWI. When we return to Connect MKE, we're joined by former Oak Creek Mayor and current talk show radio host Steve Scaffidi and his salute to service.